Let me ask you something. What if the very thing you're trying to avoid, your pain, your heartbreak, your failures, was actually the key to unlocking your deepest power? What if the chaos in your life wasn't there to destroy you, but to refine you? In a world obsessed with avoiding discomfort, we've forgotten a powerful truth. Pain is the path. Not a detour, not a punishment, but the gateway to your evolution. You see, there's an ancient process, hidden in spiritual traditions, martial teachings, and the quiet wisdom of those who've risen from rock bottom. It's called inner alchemy. And it transforms your suffering into strength, your wounds into wisdom, your fear into unshakable confidence. This video isn't about quick fixes. It's not a motivational pep talk. It's a journey through 5 sacred stages of inner transformation that will change how you see yourself, your struggles, and your destiny. If you're tired of running from the things that haunt you, if you're done pretending to be okay while you're silently breaking inside, if something inside you knows there's more to life than just surviving, this is your moment. Because once you understand how to work with your pain instead of against it, you stop being a victim of your story and become the author of your power. You're not broken, you're becoming. And everything you've been through has prepared you for this transformation. Let's begin. The awakening when pain knocks on your door. Pain has a way of showing up at the worst possible moment. It doesn't announce its arrival. It doesn't give you time to prepare. It simply enters, shattering your plans, breaking your rhythm, and throwing your world into chaos. But what if I told you that very pain is not here to end you, it's here to awaken you? This is the first stage of inner alchemy, the awakening. It is the most jarring, the most emotional, but also the most essential, because you cannot transform anything in your life until you first wake up to what's broken, buried, or boiling under the surface. Most people try to escape pain. They numb it with distractions, they silence it with fake smiles, they run from it with temporary comforts. But here's the truth. What you run from controls you. Pain is not your enemy. It's your alarm clock, shaking you out of autopilot, forcing you to stop, feel, and see clearly. This stage is uncomfortable because it's meant to be. Growth never begins in ease. Growth begins when you're cracked open, when the life you've built no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Pain pulls you out of the illusion of control. It strips you of your masks. It humbles you. But in that discomfort, something beautiful begins. Awareness. You start to notice things you never did before. The toxic patterns you kept repeating, the boundaries you never set, the wounds you never healed. The voice inside you, once silent, begins to rise. You start to ask the real questions. Who am I really? What do I need to release? Why have I been living small? Pain, at its core, is your soul begging you to pay attention. It's saying, wake up. This version of you must end so a greater one can be born. And that's exactly what awakening is. It's the death of the numb life and the birth of conscious living. You may cry, you may rage, you may sit in silence feeling lost. That's okay. Because this stage isn't about answers, it's about awareness. The moment you stop avoiding the pain and start listening to it, you shift from victim to seeker. And once you become a seeker, nothing can stop your transformation. Remember, pain doesn't show up to punish you, it shows up to point you toward purpose, toward truth, toward the real you. So when pain knocks, open the door, because your awakening has just begun. The confrontation, facing the shadow self. The moment you awaken to your pain, you're faced with a choice. Go back to sleep or go deeper. And if you're brave enough to walk the path of transformation, you'll step into the second stage of inner alchemy. Confrontation. This is where the real battle begins, not with the world, but within yourself. It's here that you meet the version of you that you've been avoiding your entire life. Your shadow self, the insecurities, the unhealed traumas, the anger, the guilt, The parts of you that were pushed down because they were too hard, too ugly, or too painful to face. Most people never make it past this point. Why? Because confrontation demands courage. It demands you to be radically honest, not just about your past, but about your patterns, your reactions, your self-sabotage, the roles you've played in your own suffering. But here's the truth. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. In our alchemy requires that you look in the mirror and say, this is who I've been, and now I choose to change. That's not weakness. That's power. That's ownership. Your shadow is not evil. It is wounded. It carries every memory you've suppressed, every truth you've denied, and unless you turn toward it with compassion, it will continue to run your life from the dark. But when you face it, when you bring it into the light, it loses its grip. You take your power back. Don't be afraid of the discomfort. Let the tears fall. Let the truth sting. Because each time you confront your shadow, you reclaim a part of yourself that was buried. Each confrontation is a return, a reunion with your authentic self. You'll begin to understand your behaviors more clearly. You'll start recognizing the difference between your intuition and your fears. You'll stop blaming others for your triggers and start using them as signposts for healing. That's when transformation begins. Not when you run from the shadow, but when you invite it to the table and ask, what are you here to teach me? This stage is where emotional maturity is born. You learn to sit with discomfort without running. You learn to observe your reactions instead of being consumed by them. You learn to break the cycles that once felt unbreakable. And slowly, the fear turns into freedom. The confrontation stage is brutal, yes, but it is sacred. Because once you've looked your darkness in the face and didn't flinch, there is nothing this world can throw at you that you can't handle. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present with all parts of yourself, especially the ones you wish didn't exist. Face the shadow, and you'll find the light hidden inside it. The breakdown, destroy to rebuild. Once you've awakened and stared into the face of your shadow, there comes a moment, one that feels like complete collapse. This is the third stage of inner alchemy, the breakdown. At this point, everything you thought you knew about yourself begins to fall apart. Your beliefs, your identity, your attachments, the roles you played, the masks you wore, the false sense of control you clung to, all of it begins to crumble. And while it may feel terrifying, you must understand, it's not chaos, it's cleansing. You cannot rebuild your life on a foundation of illusion. If your sense of self was built on avoiding pain, chasing approval, hiding wounds, or surviving patterns, then it must be torn down. Completely, not gently, not halfway, but broken with intention. This is the sacred destruction that leads to real freedom. This breakdown isn't punishment, it's preparation. The breakdown comes to strip away everything that is not truly you, so that you can finally remember who you are underneath it all. You're not losing yourself. You're losing what you were never meant to carry. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's confusing. You'll feel disoriented. You'll feel like you're losing your mind, your direction, your stability. But what's really happening is this. Your soul is clearing the space where the new version of you will rise. Destruction precedes creation. Don't resist this stage. The more you cling, the more you suffer. Let the old identity collapse. Let the old story burn. Cry if you need to, rest if you must. But trust the fire. It is doing sacred work. It's revealing what's real by burning away what's not. You will grieve, and that grief is holy. You'll mourn the old you, the safe habits, the comfort zones. But with every piece that falls away, a layer of clarity emerges. You begin to see your life without filters. You'll see who truly supports you and who doesn't. You'll notice where you were shrinking to fit. You'll finally understand that breakdown is not the end of the path. It is the path. This is where your ego dies and your essence awakens, where your heart shatters just enough to open, where the pain becomes a sculptor, shaping something unbreakable inside of you. There is no transformation without surrender. and there is no rebirth without destruction. So let yourself break completely, because from those shattered pieces, a stronger, wiser, truer version of you is waiting to rise. And that is where the real alchemy begins, the void, embracing the emptiness. After the breakdown comes the silence. The storm passes, the dust settles, and you are left in a space that feels vast, unfamiliar, and hollow. This is the fourth state of inner alchemy, the void. The void is not pain, it's not chaos, it's not confrontation, it's the absence of all of it. But that absence can feel haunting. Why? Because for the first time you are no longer who you used to be, and not yet who you are becoming. You're in between identities. The old version of you has crumbled, but a new self hasn't fully arrived. You feel empty, alone, disconnected. And in a world that values productivity, progress, and constant noise, this silence can feel unbearable. You may ask, what now? Why do I feel numb? Have I lost my purpose? No. You haven't lost anything. In fact, you are standing in the most sacred space of transformation. This emptiness is not a void of lack. It is a void of potential. You are not broken. You are becoming. The caterpillar in the cocoon dissolves completely before becoming a butterfly. It does not rush. It does not panic. It simply surrenders to the stillness. This is your cocoon. In this space, it is not your job to do, but to be, to rest, to reflect, to listen. The void is where wisdom whispers. It is the womb of your rebirth. You may feel the urge to fill this space with distractions, with people, with plans. Resist it. Let this be a time of deep inner listening. Ask yourself questions that have no easy answers. Let the stillness teach you. Let solitude strengthen you. This is the time to realign, to reimagine, to reconnect with your soul's true rhythm. It's in the void that you remember the power of presence, the value of breath, the truth that you are whole, even when you feel hollow. And here's the paradox. In the silence of the void, you'll begin to hear your inner voice more clearly than ever. The noise of the world fades and the whispers of your soul rise. You'll realize that your worth was never tied to your doing, it was always in your being. The void is where illusions dissolve and truth returns, where you learn that peace is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to remain calm in the middle of it, where you begin to feel the first sparks of something new. Small, quiet, but undeniable. This is not the end. This is the still point before the rise. And the deeper you go into this silence, the higher you will soar when it's time. So don't rush, don't force. Just breathe, just be, just trust. The next stage is coming. But for now, honor the sacred stillness of the void, the rebuilding, designing your inner temple. After the void, something miraculous begins to happen, so quietly, so gently that you may not even notice it at first. A thought, a spark, a whisper from your soul that says, start again. Welcome to the fifth stage of inner alchemy, the rebuilding. This is not about returning to who you were. That person no longer exists. This is about consciously, courageously, and deliberately choosing who you will become. You're not rebuilding ruins, you're constructing a temple. And not just any temple, an inner sanctuary, rooted in truth, wisdom, and strength. The rebuilding stage is where you begin to rewrite your beliefs. Not the ones handed to you by family, society, or fear, but the ones that feel aligned with your essence. You begin to ask, what kind of life do I want to live? What kind of person do I want to be when no one is watching? What are my real values? Not the ones I've inherited, but the ones I choose. This is where self-respect becomes non-negotiable, where boundaries are not walls but gates you choose to open or close with clarity and confidence, where your habits shift, not out of discipline, but out of deep alignment. You begin to rebuild your mind, your routines, your space, your relationships. You become intentional with your energy, your time, and your focus. You stop asking for permission. You stop people-pleasing. You stop living on autopilot. You begin to surround yourself with those who reflect your growth, not your wounds. You seek depth over distraction, truth over comfort, and your silence becomes more powerful than anyone else's noise. Its rebuilding is slow. Don't rush it. A temple is not thrown together overnight. It is crafted. Every block placed with care, every corner cleaned with love, every decision made from presence. You're no longer reacting to life, you're responding to it. This is the stage where your past no longer defines you. Your pain no longer controls you. You've walked through the fire, you've sat in the silence, and now you are planting seeds in the soil that was once scorched by suffering. And guess what? Something beautiful grows in that soil. Resilience, clarity, power, not the loud, attention-seeking kind, but the quiet, grounded kind, the kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that says, I've built this from within, I've earned this peace. You begin to feel whole, not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally showing up for yourself. You'll still have hard days. The difference now, you have tools, you have awareness, you have a foundation that no storm can shake. So build slowly, build honestly, build in alignment with the version of you that is no longer surviving, but thriving. Your temple is rising. And what comes next is the ascension, rising into your power. You've awakened, faced your shadow, watched your identity crumble, sat still in the void, and laid the first bricks of a new life. Now comes the most powerful and liberating stage of inner alchemy, the ascension. Ascension doesn't mean escaping your human experience or floating above the pain. It means integrating everything you've endured and rising because of it. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is spiritual embodiment. You are not ignoring the darkness. You've mastered it. You've danced with your pain, and now you carry its wisdom in every step forward. Ascension is the moment you no longer live at the mercy of fear, insecurity, or external approval. You've stopped outsourcing your power. You've stopped negotiating your worth. You no longer seek the world's permission to be powerful, because now you know you are the source. This haze is not loud, it's not boastful. In fact, it's quiet, deep, steady. Real power doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it simply is, it radiates. And when you've reached this point, people around you will feel the shift. Some will be inspired, others may pull away, but none of that matters anymore, because your focus has turned inward. You've stopped looking for validation and started living from alignment. You speak with clarity, you walk with intention, your presence becomes your message. People may not understand how you've changed, but they will feel it. You've become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because you've become real. Ascension is also about service. You've turned your pain into wisdom, and now you feel called to share it. Not to impress, but to uplift. You've become a light, not because you were born without darkness, but because you refused to let the darkness define you. That's the difference between ego-driven power and soul-driven power. One needs attention, the other creates transformation. In this stage, your standards rise. Your tolerance for anything that dishonors your growth disappears. You begin to trust your intuition more than opinions. You no longer feel the need to explain your journey. You understand that not everyone is meant to walk with you, and that's okay. You are not becoming someone new. You are finally becoming yourself, fully, unapologetically, completely. The version of you that was buried under conditioning, trauma, and doubt now breathes freely. And that version of you is unstoppable. But let this be clear, ascension isn't the final destination. It's a state of being, a way of moving through life with presence, peace, and purpose. You'll still face challenges. You'll still have to grow. But now you meet life from a place of grounded strength. You've learned to alchemize pain into power, chaos into clarity, fear into fuel. You've not only survived, you risen. And now you live like a flame, quiet but unstoppable, lighting the path for others who are still learning how to rise. The return, sharing the light. There is a sacred moment in every hero's journey, a moment often forgotten, yet perhaps the most powerful of all. The return. You've walked through the fire, faced your demons, transformed your wounds into wisdom, and now you stand in your power, not as someone untouched by pain, but as someone forged by it. But what comes next isn't just for you. Now you're returning, not backward, but inward and outward. You come back into the world not to blend in, but to be a light within it. The return is about sharing what you've learned, not to show off your scars, but to show others what's possible. It's about becoming the person you needed when you were lost. It's about becoming a walking permission slip for others to heal, grow, and rise too. You don't need a platform to do this. You don't need fame, followers, or fanfare. All you need is presence, your calm energy, your grounded voice, your quiet strength. These things speak louder than any speech ever could. When you return, you do so with humility. You don't force your wisdom, you simply live it, and your life becomes a message, a living example of resilience, of truth, of freedom. You realize that the greatest gift is not the fact that you've healed, but that now your healing creates space for others to begin their own. When someone is struggling, your presence offers peace. You know, when someone feels lost, your eyes say, I've been there. When someone is hurting, your journey says you can overcome this too. That's the power of the return. You're no longer chasing meaning, you become it. You walk into rooms differently. You speak less, but when you do, people listen. Why? Because your words are backed by experience, not theory, by integrity, not ego, by wisdom, not noise. The return is not a retreat, it's a rebirth. You're returning to the world as a new being, a soul who knows pain but is no longer ruled by it. A human who once broke but now bends like bamboo in the storm, strong, flexible, rooted. You begin to serve, not from obligation, but from overflow. You pour into others because your own cup is full. You become a safe space, a source of light, a bridge between suffering and hope. And here's the truth. Some people won't understand your transformation. That's okay. You didn't rise for their applause. You rose for you. And now that you have, your very existence is a gift. This is not the end of your journey, it's the expansion of it. You've alchemized your pain into purpose, and now your purpose becomes someone else's turning point. You've returned, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. The infinite cycle, pain, power, and purpose in motion. The journey of inner alchemy doesn't end with transformation, it evolves. And this is the truth so many people miss. Growth is not a straight line, it is a spiral. Life will bring new challenges, new losses, new discomforts, but each time you are different. Each time you return to the fire not as a victim, but as a vessel. Welcome to the infinite cycle. The understanding that pain, power, and purpose are not separate destinations, but a continuum, a dance, a rhythm. And once you awaken to this, you no longer fear the lows. You understand every descent is preparing you for a greater rise. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what is this here to teach me? Because now you understand, life is not punishing you, it's shaping you. Every time you're tested, you tap into your inner alchemy. You no longer run from discomfort. You lean in. You don't resist change. You initiate it. You live with an open heart even when it hurts, because you know that pain is not the enemy, stagnation is. This is the power of the infinite cycle. The more you go through it, the stronger you become. Your roots deepen, your perspective sharpens, your compassion grows, you evolve, not into someone perfect, but into someone whole. You realize that pain isn't just something to heal from, it's something that reveals you. It shows you what matters. It humbles your ego, it clears out the noise, It reconnects you to the divine within. And as you continue to cycle through the stages, awakening, shadow, void, rebuilding, ascension, return, you begin to move through them with more grace, more presence, and more trust. You begin to see that life isn't about avoiding suffering. It's about becoming someone so grounded, so intentional, that suffering no longer controls your life. You learn to sit with pain, not to be consumed by it, but to listen to what it's asking of you. And in that stillness, a deeper power rises. The kind of power that cannot be shaken, the kind of power that creates legacy, not through grand gestures, but through quiet strength and lived truth. This is your new reality. You are the alchemist. You are the fire and the forge, the student and the teacher, the one who fell apart and the one who rose higher. And now your journey becomes a lighthouse for others, guiding them through their own darkness, reminding them that transformation is always possible. Because once you understand the infinite cycle, you never go back to sleep. You walk through life awake, aware, and alive. Not perfect, not untouchable, but powerful beyond measure. And when the next wave of pain comes, you know exactly what to do. You're wise again. So here you are, standing at the end of this journey, or what seems like the end. But the truth is, this isn't the end at all. It's the beginning of something far more powerful than anything you've ever known. You've walked with me through the 5 sacred stages of inner alchemy. You've faced the awakening, where your soul screamed for more. You've stared into the shadow, where your fears lived. You've survived the void, the silence, the stillness, where your identity dissolved. You've rebuilt from ashes, not because it was easy, but because you were willing. And you've returned, stronger, wiser, softer and sharper, all at once. But now it's not about what you learned in this video, it's about what you choose to do next. Because knowledge alone doesn't transform lives. Action does. And you don't need anyone's permission to start. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment, for healing to be complete, for the pain to be gone. The power is already within you, right now. Every time you choose to sit with your discomfort instead of avoiding it, you are alchemizing pain into peace. Every time you show up, even when you're scared, you're bending your fear into freedom. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not done yet, you are rewriting the legacy of your pain into power. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not defined by what broke you. You are defined by how you rise. The world needs more awakened souls, more people who walk through the fire and don't come out bitter but better. More people who take their broken pieces and build bridges for others. And that person is you. From this moment forward, you are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are the alchemist of your life. Let your scars remind you of your survival, not your suffering. You don't have to rush this journey. You just have to walk it. One breath, one step, one choice at a time. Because transformation doesn't happen in the flesh. It happens in the small, quiet moment when you say, I will not give up. When you whisper, this pain will not define me. When you rise again and again, even with trembling legs. That's real strength. That's real mastery. That's the way of inner alchemy. So if you feel the fire inside you now, don't ignore it. Embrace it. Let it guide you. Because your pain is not your prison, it's your path. And the world is waiting for the version of you that pain was trying to unlock all along. This is your time. This is your rise. This is your rebirth. Now go and become the legend your pain was preparing you to be.